New Year is the time or day currently at which a new calendar year begins and the calendar's year count increments by one. Many cultures celebrate the event in some manner. 1. In the Gregorian calendar, the most widely used calendar system today, New Year occurs on January 1st, New Year's Day, preceded by New Year's Eve. This was also the first day of the year in the original Julian calendar and the Roman calendar, after 153 BC. 2. New Year fireworks in Italy. New Year's Eve celebration in Copacabana, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 2004. New Year's Eve celebration in Helsinki, Finland, 2016. Iranian New Year's celebration in Sanandaj on date and time of March Equinox, 2018. Other cultures observe their traditional or religious New Year's Day according to their own customs, typically, though not invariably, because they use a lunar calendar or a lunisolar calendar. Chinese New Year, the Islamic New Year, Tamil New Year, Puthandu, and the Jewish New Year are among well-known examples. India, Nepal, and other countries also celebrate New Year on dates according to their own calendars that are movable in the Gregorian calendar. During the Middle Ages in Western Europe, while the Julian calendar was still in use, authorities moved New Year's Day, depending upon locale, to one of several other days, including March 1st, March 25th, Easter, September 1st, and December 25th. Since then, many national civil calendars in the Western world and beyond have changed to using one fixed date for New Year's Day, January 1st, most doing so when they adopted the Gregorian calendar. Contents by month or season. January Baby New Year 1905 chases old 1904 into the history books in this cartoon by John T. McCutcheon. January 1st, the first day of the civil year in the Gregorian calendar used by most countries. Contrary to common belief in the West, the civil New Year of January 1st is not an Orthodox Christian religious holiday. The Eastern Orthodox liturgical calendar makes no provision for the observance of a new year. January 1st is itself a religious holiday, but that is because it is the feast of the circumcision of Christ, 7 days after his birth, and a commemoration of saints. While the liturgical calendar begins September 1st, there is also no particular religious observance attached to the start of the new cycle. Orthodox nations may, however, make civil celebrations for the new year. Those who adhere to the revised Julian calendar, which synchronizes dates with the Gregorian calendar, including Bulgaria, Cyprus, Egypt, Greece, Romania, Syria, and Turkey, observe both the religious and civil holidays on January 1st. In other nations and locations where Orthodox churches still adhere to the Julian calendar, including Georgia, Israel, Russia, the Republic of Macedonia, Serbia, Montenegro, and Ukraine, the civil New Year is observed on January 1st of the civil calendar, while those same religious feasts occur on January 14th Gregorian, which is January 1st Julian, in accord with the liturgical calendar. The Japanese New Year, Kamishigetsu, is currently celebrated on January 1st, with the holiday usually being observed until the January 3rd, while other sources say that Shigetsu lasts until January 6th. In 1873, 5 years after the Meiji Restoration, Japan adopted the Gregorian calendar. The Sami celebrated Ajijmanu. 3. Lunar New Year. A Happy New Year sign in northeastern China. The Chinese New Year, also known as Spring Festival or Lunar New Year, occurs every year on the new moon of the first lunar month, about the beginning of spring, Lichun. The exact date can fall any time between January 21st and February 21st, inclusive of the Gregorian calendar. Traditionally, years were marked by one of 12 earthly branches, represented by an animal, and one of 10 heavenly stems, which correspond to the 5 elements. This combination cycles every 60 years. It is the most important Chinese celebration of the year. The Korean New Year is a Seol or Lunar New Year's Day. Although January 1st is, in fact, the first day of the year, Seol, the first day of the lunar calendar, is more meaningful for Koreans. A celebration of the Lunar New Year is believed to have started to let in good luck and ward off bad spirits all throughout the year. With the old year out and a new one in, people gather at home and sit around with their families and relatives, catching up on what they have been doing. The Vietnamese New Year is the Tet Nguyen Dan, which most times is the same day as the Chinese New Year due to the Vietnamese using a lunar calendar similar to the Chinese calendar. The Tibetan New Year is Losar and falls between January and March. March Babylonian New Year began with the first new moon after the northward equinox. Ancient celebrations lasted for 11 days. 4 Navavarsha is celebrated in India in various regions from March to April. The Iranian New Year, called Nowruz, is the day containing the exact moment of the northward equinox, which usually occurs on March 20 or 21, marking the start of the spring season. The Zoroastrian New Year coincides with the Iranian New Year of Nowruz and is celebrated by the Parsis in India and by Zoroastrians and Persians across the world. In the Bahá'í calendar, the New Year occurs on the vernal equinox on March 20 or 21 and is called Nowruz. The Iranian tradition was also passed on to Central Asian countries, including Kazakhs, Uzbeks, and Ayers, and there is known as Nowruz. It is usually celebrated on March 22. The Balinese New Year, based on the Saka calendar, Balinese Javanese calendar, is called Nyepi, and it falls on Bali's Lunar New Year, around March. It is a day of silence, fasting, and meditation, observed from 6 a.m. until 6 a.m. the next morning. Nyepi is a day reserved for self-reflection, and as such, anything that might interfere with that purpose is restricted. Although Nyepi is a primarily Hindu holiday, non-Hindu residents of Bali observe the day of silence as well, out of respect for their fellow citizens. Even tourists are not exempt, although free to do as they wish inside their hotels. No one is allowed onto the beaches or streets, and the only airport in Bali remains closed for the entire day. The only exceptions granted are for emergency vehicles carrying those with life-threatening conditions and women about to give birth. The Javanese people also celebrate their Satisuro on this day. Ugadi, Telugu, Kama Kannada, the Telugu and Kannada New Year, generally falls in the months of March or April. The people of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka states in southern India celebrate the advent of New Year's Day in these months. The first month of the new year is Chaitra Masa. In the Kashmiri calendar, the holiday Navratri marks the new year in March to April. This holy day of Kashmiri Brahmins has been celebrated for several millennia. The Padwa is celebrated as the first day of the Hindu year by the people of Maharashtra, India, and Sanskar Padwa is celebrated in Goa. This day falls in March to April and coincides with Ugadi. Deccan. The Sindhi festival of Cheti Chand is celebrated on the same day as Ugadi, Day Padwa, to mark the celebration of the Sindhi New Year. The Thelemic New Year on March 20th, or on April 8th by some accounts, is usually celebrated with an invocation to Rahu Kut, commemorating the beginning of the new eon in 1904. It also marks the start of the 22-day Thelemic holy season, which ends on the third day of the writing of the Book of the Law. This date is also known as the Feast of the Supreme Ritual. There are some who believe the Thelemic New Year falls on either March 19th, 20th, or 21, depending on the vernal equinox, which is the feast for the equinox of the gods on the vernal equinox of each year to commemorate the founding of Thelema in 1904. In 1904 the vernal equinox was on March 21st, and it was the day after Aleister Crowley ended his Horus invocation that brought on the new Eon and Thelemic New Year. April. The Chaldean Babylonian New Year, called Kobnisan or Rishadshita, occurs on April 1st. Thelemic New Year celebrations usually end on April 10th, after an approximately 1-month-long period that begins on March 20th, the formal New Year. This 1-month period is referred to by many as the High Holy Days, and end with periods of observance on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. coinciding with the 3 days of the writing of the Book of the Law by Aleister Crowley in 1904. 5 Mid-April, spring in the Northern Hemisphere. Main article, South and Southeast Asian New Year. The New Year of many South and Southeast Asian calendars falls between April 13-15, marking the beginning of spring. The Balak Hindu people in Pakistan and India celebrate their New Year called Bijrak, in the month of Dardens according to their Saldar calendar. Tamil New Year, Tamil, Puthandu, is celebrated in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu, on the 1st of Chaithrai, April 13th, 14th, or 15. In the temple city of Madurai, the Chaithrai Thiruvizha is celebrated in the Meenakshi temple. A huge exhibition is also held, called Chaithrai Purakatchi. In some parts of southern Tamil Nadu, it is also called Chaithrai Vishu. The day is marked with a feast in Hindu homes and the entrance to the houses are decorated elaborately with columns. Punjabi/Sikh Sikhi, is celebrated on April 14th in Punjab according to their Nanak-Shahi calendar. Nepal New Year in Nepal is celebrated on the 1st of Bsak, which falls on 12 to 15 April in the Gregorian calendar. Nepal follows the Bikram Sambat, BS, as an official calendar. The Dogra of Himachal Pradesh celebrate their New Year Chaiti in the month of Chaitra. Maithili New Year or Judshidal too fall on these days. It is celebrated by Maithili people all around the world. Assamese New Year, Rongili Bayu or Bohag Bayu, is celebrated on April 14th or 15 in the Indian state of Assam. Bengali New Year, Bengali, Pohla Boishak or Bengali, Bangla Nobo Burshal, is celebrated on the 1st of Boishak, April 14th or 15, in Bangladesh and the Indian state of West Bengal and Tripura. Odia New Year, Vishuva Sankranti, is celebrated on April 14th in the Indian state of Odisha. It is also called Vishuva Sankranti or Pana Sankranti. Manipuri New Year or Chirba is celebrated on April 14th in the Indian state of Manipur with much festivities and feasting. Sinhalese New Year is celebrated with the Harvest Festival, in the month of Bat, when the sun moves from the Meena Rashiya, House of Pisces, to the Mesha Rashiya, House of Aries. Sri Lankans begin celebrating their national New Year Lathavarada, in Sinhala and Puthandu, in Tamil. However, unlike the usual practice where the new year begins at midnight, the national New Year begins at the time determined by the astrologers by calculating the exact time that sun goes from Meena Rashiya, House of Pisces, to the Mesha Rashiya, House of Aries. Not only the beginning of the new year but the conclusion of the old year is also specified by the astrologers. And
Which is called the Nonagat Noodle period, where part of the sun in the House of Pisces and part is in Nonagat.
Conclusion of the old year and the commencement of the new year, which is called the Nonagath, neutral period, where part of the sun in House of Pisces and part is in House